Shwmae a chroeso I Sgwrs, podlediad Consortiwm Canolbarth y De. Yn y podlediad hwn byddwch chi'n clywed y trafodaethau diweddara am bob math o bethau addysg. Hello and welcome to Sgwrs, the Central South Consortium podcast. In this podcast we'll bring you the very latest discussions on all things education.
Hello, I'm Amanda Mathias. I work within the Welsh team at Central South Consortium as a Welsh and Education Officer, supporting English medium primary schools with Welsh language development.
Hello, I'm Siân Walters. I also work alongside Amanda as a Welsh and Education Officer within the Welsh team at Central South Consortium. My role is to support English medium primary schools with Welsh language development.
Over the past few years, Siân and I have led the development of Welsh across the curriculum within the Welsh team. The purpose was to develop planning and resources for Welsh in different AOLEs, which will support the curriculum for Wales and Target 9 of Cymraeg campus. To accomplish this, we have engaged with working parties of primary school practitioners from across the regions, with a particular interest and enthusiasm within this field.
The development of Welsh across the curriculum continues to be a work in progress. This year, 2 Welsh across the curriculum events that we organised online were fully subscribed. This event offered support and strategies in conjunction with the planning and resources which are currently available. These can be accessed on the Welsh Across the Curriculum community in the community section of the CSC website.
This has led us on to record this podcast to share good practice within the regions. We are very fortunate to have with us 2 Welsh subject leaders who are willing to share their experience and expertise of developing Welsh across the curriculum within their schools.
Our guests are Caroline Marshall from Hawthorn Primary School in Cardiff and Darryl Evans from Llangewydd Junior School in Bridgend. Croeso. They will now introduce themselves, and following on from there, they will discuss their backgrounds, the setting, strategies and impact.
Hello, I'm Caroline Marshall and I teach at Hawthorn Primary School in Cardiff. I'm currently the leader for LLC across the school, and I have been the leader of Welsh for quite a number of years.
Shwmae, my name's Darryl Evans. I'm assistant head teacher at Llangewydd Junior School in Bridgend, with responsibility for preparing the school for Curriculum for Wales 2022, and I'm also the AOL lead for language, literacy and communication.
Well, diolch. So may I ask you the first question? Do you feel confident in using Welsh across the curriculum?
Well, I've been using Welsh across the curriculum in my classroom now for almost, I'd say 5 years, and have taught a variety of topics across a range of year groups throughout the school. So over the years, I would say that my confidence has definitely developed the more subjects I've taught, and obviously through the different year groups. So yes, I would like to say that I feel quite confident at the moment about teaching Welsh across the curriculum.
My confidence in using Welsh across the curriculum is something that's developed over time. Like Caroline, I attended the Welsh sabbatical scheme for teachers for a term. It was at that time, not the current status of a year, and that is something which was possibly one of the most rewarding experiences professionally I'd had, and it really had an impact on my classroom practice, particularly when I came back to school. And part of the reason for that was there was an emphasis on what was called micro-dysgu, where in a very supportive and encouraging group context, teachers were encouraged to teach different subjects through the medium of Welsh. So it was a little bit in at the deep end, but it really had an impact on my own practice and helped build my confidence in using Welsh in different subject areas. And at school, we've always given Welsh a high profile. We've always used incidental Welsh throughout our lessons and throughout the day. So it was a natural progression to use, rather than more incidental Welsh, to make Welsh more part and parcel of the actual teaching of different subjects. And some subjects have lent themselves more easily to that. For example, maths with number vocabulary or shape vocabulary, expression of likes and dislikes in possibly art, music lessons, and then others a little bit more challenging, for example, in science, IT and geography. But at our school, we've definitely got a have a go ethos, a have a go approach, and to not be afraid to make mistakes and to literally have a go and explore different ways in which you can use Welsh across the curriculum.
Yes, and I think in year 3, when I started it, I started quite simply, really, using sentence patterns that the children were already familiar with, and then I used Welsh topic vocabulary that fitted in. So for example, the children already knew my salmon byw mewn tŷ teras. So in the topic of the Celts, we just changed it to mae'r Celtiaid yn byw mewn tŷ crwn. So it was simple, it was an easy thing to start with. And what I found was that because the children were then so enthusiastic about the fact that they were able to talk about things which were not just everyday life topics, it spurs you on as well. And this success then encouraged me to carry on and try different areas of the curriculum and try Welsh through different topics.
Question nesa, the next question for you both. I wonder if you could share with us what has inspired you to develop Welsh in other areas of the curriculum, and how have you been able to do this?
I think that some areas of the curriculum, as I mentioned previously, naturally lend themselves to the development of Welsh, and in quite a straightforward way. For example, using commands for movement within PE, or likes and dislikes in art, number and shape vocabulary in maths. So in many respects, it's not a huge leap in certain subjects. Our engagement with the Siarter Iaith process has really focused our efforts on developing Welsh across the curriculum, and with our work for Target 9, where schools are asked to teach aspects of one subject through the medium of Welsh. And it's quite straightforward to do it, for example, with something like PE. And then the success you experience within that subject, it gives you the confidence to translate that to other areas of the curriculum too. So that's been quite instrumental in our Welsh across the curriculum approach. But I think our main inspiration for developing Welsh across the curriculum has been our preparations for Curriculum for Wales 2022. As in our curriculum design, we're now really embracing a genuinely holistic topic-based approach where you're blending the AOLE. So we've really moved away completely from discrete Welsh lessons to Welsh skills, Welsh language patterns being taught within the context of our topics. For example, we've got a book-based topic on the Mousel cat, where weather is almost like a character within the story. So a Tywydd is taught within the context of that project. When we're talking about dyma fi and describing ourselves, for example, we taught that in the context of Roman soldiers. And I think it's been much more meaningful and relevant for the children, and it gives Welsh across the curriculum. Welsh has real integrity within the context of our new curriculum topics.
Yes, and I think that we find that a lot of our inspiration for teaching Welsh and other subjects actually comes from the children's enthusiasm and excitement and confidence when they are using Welsh and other subjects. And actually now it seems like a natural part of our planning each half term. It's sort of, oh, so how are we going to use our Welsh through this topic? But I think what we've also found is that the more we use Welsh in different curriculum areas, the more that we found that just using the sentence patterns that the children were learning in their actual year group Welsh lessons was actually restricting the children's ability to use the language in different subjects. So therefore we started looking as to which language patterns fit the subject that we want to talk about. An example being in history in year 2, obviously history is the past tense, and we don't teach history in the past tense in year 2, however, as far as the continuum is concerned. However, we needed them to know roedd hi'n. So the question that the children were asked was, well, sut oedd Llundain and 1666? And they were quite happily able to respond by saying, oh, roedd Llundain ar dân, or roedd Llundain yn oren. So I think we found the more we teach in Welsh across the curriculum, the more flexible we need to be as to how the Welsh language works in our classroom. And it's not difficult, it's just keeping it simple.
Diolch. So what benefits have you seen since teaching Welsh across the curriculum?
I think the main benefit has been improved standards, particularly of oracy at our school, a real focus on oracy, because I think by using Welsh throughout the school day in different subject areas, the children become more confident in transferring language patterns from one subject area to another, and you can extend them for more sophisticated patterns. You can encourage them to extend sentences, and they can apply what they've learned in Welsh lessons to other areas of the curriculum. So it's really benefited standards of oracy. And I also think the impact has really been in that the children are very engaged with their Welsh, very enthusiastic about it, because they don't perceive Welsh as a bolt-on, one-off, discrete Welsh lesson. It's very much become a living language where they can see it relevant across the curriculum and throughout the school day. And this use it or lose it sort of thinking. I know myself as a Welsh learner, I found since the sabbatical, actually, obviously since coming away from the sabbatical, although I'm trying to use Welsh as much as possible, I'm not using it as much as I would have been at that point. And if you don't use that language day on day regularly, your confidence does drop. So I think by using Welsh throughout the school day in all sorts of subjects really helps. There's a pattern of success, and the children can see that they can transfer their skills from one area to another, and it just makes the language a living language.
Yes, and I agree with Darryl there, because also that then you can see the standards in your school are improving. And I think one of the benefits that we've seen, and speaking earlier with Darryl, is we can see that the standards of the children's Welsh in our school is definitely being lifted by the fact that they're able to apply their skills throughout the curriculum rather than just in their Welsh language. And also it's the confidence of children using their language throughout the day. So you hear them in the corridor, you hear them as they're walking through into school in the morning. So I think there have been a lot of benefits of us spreading Welsh throughout the school rather than keeping it within the old Welsh lesson as such.
Gwych. Another question that I'd like to ask you, if I may, is has the use of Welsh across the curriculum had an impact on standards, culture and attitudes with pupils and staff within your schools?
Yes, as I just mentioned, we really do feel that the standards in our school have definitely risen with the children using Welsh across the curriculum. And in Key Stage 2 especially, we can see that the children's writing, because they're writing for a purpose, and they're writing about something that means something to them or something new they're learning about. For example, in science, they learned about the planets. And not only are they doing the planets in their science lesson, but they're actually able to learn about the planets in Welsh and then write about the planets in Welsh. So the writing is a lot more meaningful, and definitely we've seen that the standards are rising throughout the school. As far as the culture is concerned, again, Welsh is part and parcel of our day. Everybody in the corridor says good morning, they speak to each other in Welsh, the teaching assistants, and the children coming in the mornings, even the parents, which is quite nice, because during our blended learning, we had a lot of parents actually asking us to help them with the children's Welsh and asking us to put videos on to pronounce the words. So obviously the children feel that Welsh is part of their life in school. And also the staff, I really think, have really taken on teaching Welsh in other areas of the curriculum, and it has really benefited them. And also some of them have said, oh, it's made me realise that actually I need to brush up on my skills. So yes, I think having to learn Welsh and to teach Welsh in different areas has definitely had an impact on our school for standards, culture and attitudes.
And similarly at our school, there's definitely been an impact with standards, particularly standards of oracy, because I think the children apply the vocabulary and sentence patterns across different areas of the curriculum. And I think that's the real test of whether they've actually understood the language and have a real grasp of the language, is if they're able to apply sentence patterns to different areas across the curriculum, and it just really built their confidence and their enthusiasm for Welsh. I think with pupils and staff, the culture of it's really raised the profile of Welsh within the school and its status as a living, relevant language, which is relevant across all areas of life. It's not confined to that weekly lesson. And I think Welsh frames the whole school day here now, in that the children are using Welsh out in the yard, they're using Welsh in the canteen, they're using Welsh at break time. And then you've got the Help Behaviour initiative within classes, so that they're signalling the beginning and end of lessons, they're leading Welsh language games within class. And taken in conjunction with the Welsh used across the curriculum in different subject areas, it's communicated that message to the children that Welsh isn't something that you can put in a box and it's left at school. It's something which is real and is relevant to their everyday lives, which can be transferred across all sort of aspects of their lives.
Hyfryd. Diolch, Caroline a Darryl. How have you engaged staff in promoting the use of Welsh across the curriculum?
I think the main way in school is being part of our preparations for the new curriculum. And at school, we each half term, in preparation for the next topic, we have a planning day, which involves myself and the 3 members of staff teaching a particular year group. So it's a year group planning meeting, and that's an opportunity for us as staff to think about where Welsh lends itself to different topics, where there are opportunities to develop the Welsh language across the curriculum. For example, we have a topic called Let's Get Fit and Funky, and that lends itself very nicely to Welsh vocabulary to do with food, or a leisure time, a hamdden, sport and exercise. And we found that very soon, very quickly, the staff are able to spot for themselves opportunities to develop specific Welsh vocabulary in the context, in different aspects of their overall topic. Also within our school, we've tried to have distributed Welsh confidence, if you like, in terms of our staff structure. So as well as myself being the Welsh coordinator, if you like, within each year group, we've tried to place a member of staff who's more confident in Welsh than possibly other members of their year group, so that they're a reference point for advice and support, and also helping staff with perhaps less confidence in Welsh realise that it can be quite straightforward to use Welsh across the curriculum and to take those small steps before going any further. And also the scaffolds and the supports that the Welsh Service and the Welsh Across the Curriculum Working Party have developed have been crucial. For example, the vocabulary to use in PE lessons, which is displayed in the hall. So it's like an aid memoir for staff. So they feel supported, and that they're more likely to take those steps and to have a go at using Welsh across the curriculum. But it's very much a cumulative approach and one step at a time. So here we sort of nurture staff in the sense that, well, let's have a go at using Welsh in a PE lessons first. And then when they experience success in that, then they're more likely to try that out in a different lesson, for example, within art or maths, so that staff aren't overwhelmed and that their confidence is built. And with that success, they're going to move forward.
Well, as Darryl mentioned earlier, I did attend the sabbatical scheme, the Cymraeg mewn blwyddyn at Cardiff University, and it was a fantastic year. And not only did it help my Welsh language skills, but it taught me how to teach a second language. And I must say that the lecturers there are fantastic. And if you do get the opportunity to spend time at Cardiff Uni on the Welsh in a Year course, then I would advise any teacher out there to take up that opportunity, because it really is worth it. But part of my project during the course was for 10 weeks, I got to spend a day back in my own school, and I decided that my project was going to be to develop Welsh across the curriculum in our school. So the best thing I felt for my staff in our school was to actually team teach, to work alongside them, so I could take my skills that I'd been taught back into the classroom, and then we worked together. So I started teaching and the teacher would watch, and then we would slowly pass over the responsibility. So it was a seesaw effect, and I think the confidence in those teachers now is huge, and it does make it had a very big impact on the way they perceive and teach Welsh across the curriculum. So I do think modelling and team teaching is a very good way to support staff in the school. The other thing that has been introduced in our school is the Podantir scheme by Tinopolis. And it's aimed at Key Stage 2, and it covers a lot of subjects, subject areas, for example, history, RE, geography, art, and there are books, videos, there are discussion cards, and we find a lot of the teachers our teachers in Key Stage 2 enjoy using these books with the children and using the resources with the children, and actually they support the children a lot, they support the teachers a lot, and it is something that is also worth looking into if you haven't got it in your school.
Diolch yn fawr I chi'ch dau. You've certainly raised some very, very good points there, and possibly it might be, an ideal opportunity also to just as a matter of information, that a part of our role as Welsh and education officers is to develop the pedagogy of the teaching of Welsh, giving the strategies, knowledge, experience, and skills also. So in moving on, within your school, how have you developed subject terminology?
What we found in our school is because the new curriculum encouraged the children to take ownership of their learning, and the topics that they choose sometimes may not be going down the route that you have envisaged. Subject terminology, and to plan subject terminology, is not always easy. So at the moment, we're finding that we just follow the children and then we're doing it as we go along. So it's not really planned at the moment.
At our school, we found that some areas of subject terminology are more straightforward than others and more obvious. For example, you use of colour vocabulary in art, or number or shape vocabulary in maths, or directions perhaps in your local geography, local community, routes and so on. But in terms of developing subject terminology to really extend ourselves, we have relied on the Welsh and Education Service, and particularly resources that Siân, our Welsh Education Officer, signposted to us. For example, the Welsh Across the Curriculum posters that the Working Party have developed, which are displayed in our halls, which you can refer to during PE lessons. Also the cardiau ar draws y curriculum that the Welsh Across the Curriculum network have sort of placed on or housed on Hub. But also all sorts of resources that Siân's provided for us over many years, really. For example, within literacy, little cards to discuss in Cymraeg the children's reading book. So they might be reading an English book, but we've got little prompts which Siân's provided that then they can talk about the books they're reading in Welsh. So those resources and the support that the Welsh and Education Service have provided in terms of developing subject technology has been invaluable.
I agree. I think just like Darryl, we use a lot of the resources that have been provided for us by yourselves. But also because the new curriculum encourages the children to take ownership of their learning and follow their ideas. A lot of the subject terminology we use depends very much on the topic the class has chosen.
Diolch. Hyfryd.
What do you think then is needed to further support schools on their journey with Welsh across the curriculum?
I think really from our school's point of view is to continue for the Welsh and Education Service to continue in the way they always have supported and encouraged us, because they're always from my personal experience, Siân's always at the end of an email or at the end of a phone, visits the school regularly, and that support is invaluable, just in terms of exemplifying good practice, modelling good practice, and the hands-on approach you have, in the sense that Siân will come into school, she'll work alongside teachers, she'll team teachers, but then also she'll follow that up. So she'll give them something to work on, a manageable target to work on. She'll go away, they'll have time to implement the strategies and approaches in class, but then Siân will come back and say, well, how did that go, and look at it again, and then move them forward and build their confidence in teaching Welsh across the curriculum in that way. But also the Welsh team's support in signposting resources, providing advice and scaffolds. engagement with the Welsh across the curriculum community on Hub is something which we've dipped our toe into, but that's something we would definitely look to develop in the future, in terms of using the resources that they've made available to schools, and also, you know, responding and implementing things based on their advice. Also, the training you provide, when it was face-to-face, because you can't beat face-to-face training. I know lots of members of our staff have really appreciated that, but in the context we found ourselves this year with COVID, you're still there, in the sense that, you know, lots of our staff have taken the opportunity to do the online, the Hub playlists and the training that you provided, and that's been fantastic because they can do it at their own pace. You don't have to do the course all in one go. You can come back to it. And myself personally, I've done the CAM 3 this year during lockdown, and it just reminds you of so however confident you might be with using Welsh, or however less confident you may be, it just reminds you of things which perhaps you've forgotten, and extends the repertoire of your language techniques. So the support the service has offered has been valuable, just to continue doing what you're doing, really.
Yes, I agree. I think the resources that are provided online by yourselves and over the years are there for us to access and to use. Also, the online training, I know our staff, especially, and I know our teaching assistants, have engaged with the training that you provided, and that has really had an impact on their speaking of Welsh to the children and their understanding. And finally, I do think you coming into schools and working alongside the teachers in the classroom has the biggest impact of all, and I strongly believe that's something that really helps us and will help us in the future as we continue to put Welsh through our curriculum.
So, something to follow up something that Caroline said, which I think is important with the new curriculum. We've sort of thrown everything up in the air. So Welsh topics that were traditionally perhaps taught in year 6 might now fit more realistically and meaningfully into a topic perhaps taught in year 4. And there's never the perfect resource there. So we find that, but there's always the resources that the service is providing can always be adapted to the topics that we're now teaching in school. So there's always a reference point for us, always a touchstone for us. Something which will help support our new topics as we prepare for the new curriculum.
And there's also the Welsh Across the Curriculum community, where have got a lot of updated resources and new resources which are specifically made for the new curriculum as well.
Diolch. Another question, if that's all right. A question that may be asked by other practitioners is, why teach Welsh across the curriculum?
I think my answer to that is, why not? We live in Wales, we're surrounded by our language, and children love to speak in different languages. They just thrive on it. And it's not as difficult as you may first think. So definitely, why not?
Yeah, I agree. You know, it ticks all the boxes, doesn't it? Improve standards of oracy, reading and writing. I think our main sort of thrust for why teach Welsh across the curriculum is it's helping us as a school to realise our vision for curriculum for Wales 2022, in that we are embracing a more holistic approach, a genuinely cross-curricular topic approach that blends the AOLEs and doesn't confine Welsh to one area, but also, you know, the title of the AOLE is Languages, Literacy and Communication. Languages. So moving really having a mind shift away from Welsh and English as separate entities, but as languages which have things in common, similarities, differences, and that blend seamlessly. And finally, I think Welsh across the curriculum and people's sort of mastery of that is the ultimate indicator of their abilities in Welsh and the progress they've made. Have they just learned something by rote, or are they able to apply that language pattern quite naturally in a different subject area, which perhaps they've not used it before? So,
Diolch. Have you any advice for Welsh subject leaders on how to lead Welsh across the curriculum?
I think my first point of advice would be to do small steps and to start to perhaps, as the Siarter Iaith sort of recommends, to choose one area to target, something which is quite straightforward. For example, PE, where you doing different movements, different directions, possibly, and then build from there, and to build staff confidence so they come with you and they experience success, and that they're more likely to then be inclined to use Welsh across the curriculum in other areas. Also, I would suggest use your Welsh and Education Officer and that service. That's why they're there. They provide such excellent support, advice, resources. As I said before, they're always on the end of a telephone, or they're always on the other end of an email. Use them, get them into your schools of supporting you and working on the ground in the classroom with teachers.
Yeah, I think as a Welsh subject leader, you just need to give people time to try things. With the new curriculum coming in now, this is the time. Have a go, experiment. We're only going to learn by trying new things. And I think what we'll find is that people's confidence and success will go hand in hand. So if people try things, they find a bit of success, they become more confident. So I think as Welsh coordinator, as Welsh leader, I would be trying to encourage people to have a go. It doesn't matter if it goes wrong, just have a go, and small steps, yes, definitely.
Diolch yn fawr iawn i'r ddau ohonoch chi, i Caroline ac i Darryl, for your huge contribution to this podcast, which undoubtedly has been very worthwhile and extremely informative.
Yes, diolch yn fawr, Darryl and Caroline. We do appreciate your time and passion for this work, and I'm really confident that this will help practitioners on their journey with Welsh across the curriculum as we prepare for the curriculum for Wales. So diolch yn fawr.
Diolch.
Croeso.
Diolch am wrando ar y bennod hon o Sgwrs. Cofiwch ein dilyn ar Twitter a Facebook, tanysgrifio ein sianel YouTube, ymuno yn cymunedau ar ein gwefan a darllen ein bwletin ysgolion wythnosol am y newyddion diweddaraf. Thanks for listening to this episode of Sgwrs. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter and Facebook, subscribe to our YouTube channel, join our online communities via our website, and read our weekly school bulletin for the latest news. Hwyl am y tro. Bye for now.